Welcome to Requiro. Today we are going to be talking about Judge Garnett's opinion and order that came out on the 30th of January 2026 in Luigi Mangione's case, and this little video is just basically a breakdown of that full document, so it's going to be a lot more longer compared to my last breakdown. Pretty similar to like all my other videos in length, this one compared to my last video. So again, this video will be pretty similar for like the last 3 videos I've been doing, just breaking down the really big documents in Luigi Mangione's case to make them a little bit understandable, instead of like legal talk and all that at the best of my abilities as a person who has way too much time on their hands and just works it out for you guys. So that's basically what this video is. It's pretty similar to all my other breakdown videos in Luigi Mangione's case, and this is going to be the last breakdown for a while in Luigi Mangione's case for these really big documents I've been doing. Sorry it's about 7 months late again. I had to play catch up. I'm human. I'm one person working on all these videos. It takes me a bit of time to get through all these documents and keep on top of everything in Luigi Mangione's case. I also have an audio version of this full document if you guys want to just listen along and then come back if you don't have time to go read this document, or it's like on the channel or even on like the podcast Requiro. I don't mention that, but like that's more popular than my channel here for some reason. Anyway, it's also Monday if you guys want to go listen along. Also, I do want to say this here. Sorry if I sound a bit like exhausted in this video. I'm just very burnt out this week from existing. Surprisingly, not this. I'm still really enjoying this. Just life in general, and I'm being burnt out just because of existing. So yeah, sorry if I sound a little bit tired in this video. I'm gonna take next week off. Good thing I upload 3 times a month now instead of 4 times a month like I used to. How the hell did I do that? Extremely unhealthily, I can say that. And all the information and all the sources I use in this week's video will be up on the website on this week's episode, so that will be in the description down below if you guys want to go check it out. And if there's anything I got wrong or anything like that, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll sure to pin it or bring it up in my next video, because I am human, I do make mistakes. These are very long videos, I have a dyslexic brain, I get things confused a lot because it's how my dumb brain works and I hate it. So I do make mistakes, and I do appreciate when people tell me when I do make a mistake. So again, I promise, I don't bite. You are allowed to tell me if I make a mistake. Now, let's get into the video. Like I said in all of my other little breakdown videos that I've been going over lately, this isn't any new or current information in Luigi Mangione's case. This document did come out on the 30th of January 2026, and again, it just took me a lot of time to get to this point where I finally have time to like break down this document for you guys. So again, this isn't new or current information. This came out like many months ago. I'm just finally have time to like break it down and make this little video for you guys. I want to say this here before we jump into the main part of the video. So basically the first half of this document is just basically Judge Garnett's opinion and order in Luigi Mangione's case, and then the second half and majority of the document is basically the search warrant they eventually got to put against Luigi Mangione so they can keep certain items. So at the end of the Judge Garnett's opinion and order in this document as example 1. I do want to add this here as well if you guys want to go like read this document for yourselves in your own time, or even just listen to the audio version of this document in your own time. Please keep in mind they do not say allegedly or anything like that in this document. I am going to be saying allegedly in this video when I'm going over everything in this document, but in this document they don't say allegedly or anything because it is from the judge. So I just want to let you guys know about that, and keep that in mind if you want to go read this document or even like listen to the audio version of the document I already have. But I am going to be saying allegedly in this video. Okay, so now I'm going to go over my little breakdown and notes and all that now after I've done my little spiel disclaimer stuff. So on page 1 it does come out Judge Garnett is denying Karen Agnifilo's motion to suppress everything Luigi Mangione's backpack in Judge Garnett's case towards Luigi Mangione. Again, very sad to hear, especially like with all the blunt, sketchy shit surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack in this entire case. And again, We've seen it in the December suppression hearing of literally how much more sketchy things were surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack, so keep that in mind. Your blood will boil when you read this. Again, we will go over the reasons why Judge Garnett decided to keep Luigi Mangione's backpack. Is basically the reason why is there's exceptions, but then they go over the law of in Pennsylvania where what happened still falls underneath the category of what they did was illegal. Anyway, your blood will boil in this video, or even just reading the document in general. Sadly, everything in Judge Garnett's case towards Luigi Mangione, everything surrounding the backpack, and will not be suppressed, sadly, in Luigi Mangione's case with Judge Garnett. So basically on page 2, they do go over briefly of the incident of when Brian Thompson was murdered, all the way up to when Luigi Mangione was arrested, when that McDonald's worker called the police, thinking they noticed the CEO shooter of New York in the McDonald's. They go over that briefly until all the point where a police officer picked up Luigi Mangione's backpack off the floor and put it on a table. I do want to add this here. The backpack was 9 feet away from Luigi Mangione. I will put it up on screen of how far the backpack was away from Luigi Mangione, but they don't say how far away it is in the document. But it does come out in the document here saying an officer did go through Luigi Mangione's backpack. I found it interesting. She only mentioned one. It was 2. The 2 officers that searched through Luigi Mangione's backpack was Officer Fox and Officer Waza. It's also brought up in the document as well. The reason why Officer Waza and Officer Fox were going through Luigi Mangione's backpack, and it was okay for them to go through his backpack at that McDonald's without a search warrant. Again, I want to add this here. Multiple officers told them they needed a search warrant, and again, Officer Waza lied about the bomb of the reason why she was going through the backpack so she could cover her own ass, and on top of that, it did come out in the December suppression live tweets in that they were very much joking around and not taking the bomb excuse seriously. So again, we will go over that in detail. It's very infuriating how much that was discarded in this document. And it was brought up in the document, basically the reason why Judge Garnett says this was so-called okay for them to go through Luigi Mangione's backpack at that McDonald's is because they were doing it as a safety check, so nothing bad, dangerous, or weapons or anything like that would be in the backpack before Officer Waza decided to place it in her car. When I read that, it made me very infuriated. It's did you not watch the body cam footage before you made that decision? You did not notice them joking around, not taking it seriously? Officer Waza made up the bum excuse so she could cover her own ass because she realized, oh shit, I need a search warrant. Did you forget about that? I'm pretty sure you need to watch that stuff before, you make these decisions. And like we already know, there was so many sketchy things surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack from that McDonald's when it was going from the McDonald's to the police station, and even once it got to the police station, there were so many sketchy things surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack before it even got to that police station, and even when it was at the police station. And again, it was kind of annoying when I was reading the document. We'll get to that bit in a minute, but they kind of gloss over those things and even group a bunch of officers as one person doing it when it happened multiple different times. Very infuriating. Anyway, I'm getting off a little bit track here. I'm jumping ahead, I'm sorry. And it's also brought up in the document on page 2 where Officer Waza put Luigi Mangione's backpack in her car, and Luigi Mangione was put in handcuffs and put in another police car, transported to the police station. Again, so many things were very sketchy surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack, and it's also brought up on page 2. The backpack was also searched again at the police station. But again, like we already know, everything was very sketchy surrounding the backpack in Luigi Mangione's case. Again, in this document, they do go over everything a lot more briefly compared to what we read before in the past in motions from Karen Agnifilo, or even that rose-tinted version from the prosecutors about when Luigi Mangione was arrested. In this document, everything's a lot more brief in this document. And I do want to say this here, so if it sounds like I'm bouncing back and forth from the document and information we've learned about in this case in the past, just because I know not a lot of you guys are like hardcore, can read every single document and have it stored in your brain like me, like a little weirdo, or don't have time to do it, or even just forgotten it, because I do want to add things here that we have learned from Karen Agnifilo's motions that have happened in the past, or even from the December suppression hearings that happened in Luigi Mangione's case that happened last year, and I went over the live tweets. So I'm like bouncing back and forth from those information, from those sources in this case with this document, just to add some context with things and all that, and fill in some gaps, or even add things that are missing that aren't in the document here when they should be there. That's why it kind of sounds like I'm bouncing from like the information from this actual document itself and from information we've learned in the past in from other motions from Karen Agnifilo, or even the December suppression hearings, because again, there's information there that we know about that is not here in the document. Again, I do want to add this here, I also said this earlier in the video, when Luigi Mangione's backpack was taken away from him when he was sitting at the McDonald's, it was like 9 feet away from him, so remember, keep that in mind. And also, the inventory search that they were claiming at the McDonald's, even in Pennsylvania law, they do show that up in the document. It still does not fall underneath that category of what they were doing was okay and classify as an inventory search, because the person needs to be close to their bag, or whatever they're searching, so they can like say, oh hey, that thing's sentimental, please don't get rid of that, and it's like a rock or something. But in reality, it was 9 feet away from him. It does not fall under that category of a inventory search in Pennsylvania law or even New York law. Because again, they brought up those laws before in the past in other documents and motions from Karen Agnifilo. And Officer Waza and Officer Fox, the two officers that were searching through Luigi Mangione's backpack at that McDonald's, Luigi Mangione was already in handcuffs and being patted down at that time when they were going through his backpack. Officer Fox was going through the pockets of the bag in Luigi Mangione's backpack, and Officer Waza was going through the main part of the bag at that McDonald's. Again, they did a much thorough search of Luigi Mangione's backpack at that McDonald's, a lot more than they were letting on. They made it sound like it was just a light search they were doing, like say maybe the little top bit of the bag, but in reality what comes out, it does sound like they have done a much thorough search in Luigi Mangione's backpack at that McDonald's than they were letting on, and it does come out in this document as well. Did do that. When you're reading it, you can tell it's like they've done a thorough search of this backpack. A lot more than they were letting on. Again, they were also claiming and joking around about the bomb they were so-called searching for, and that's why they were going through Luigi Mangione's backpack without a search warrant, because they were worried for a bomb, quotation marks, but that bomb went out of their minds, and also they stopped joking about it once after they found that gun magazine. It also came out in this document, the gun magazine that was allegedly found in Luigi Mangione's backpack was also wrapped in clothing as well. Again, indicating they did a much thorough search of Luigi Mangione's backpack than they were letting on, and that bomb just magically disappeared from their brain once they found that gun magazine they allegedly found in Luigi Mangione's backpack. I know, amazing, like if you stop thinking about it, things just magically disappear. I don't think that's how things work in the real world. And after that, basically, Officer Waza put Luigi Mangione's backpack in her car, and her body camera was also turned off, And then Officer Fox put a brown paper bag with some of Luigi Mangione's items in it in his car, and then they met up on the side of the road before they got to that police station, and then Officer Fox handed over Officer Waza that brown paper bag. Again, that entire interaction is not recorded whatsoever. Anything could have happened, anything could have been discussed in that time frame. Even before Officer Waza got to that police station, her body camera was still turned off, and anything could have happened surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack in that moment in time, because again, that time frame is missing. Then on top of that, once Officer Waza got to that police station, that's when she turned her body camera on and put Luigi Mangione's backpack on a small chair in a hallway without any CCTV cameras in it, and had her body camera on, and then specifically searched for a spot and then the 3D printed gun magically appeared in one of the pockets in Luigi Mangione's backpack. I do want to add this here. Officer Fox was looking through the pockets Luigi Mangione's backpack at that McDonald's. I'm pretty sure he would have found it at the McDonald's when he was going through the pockets, and they would have made a bigger deal about it. Then it magically appeared at that police station in those same spots Officer Waza was looking at, where Officer Fox already checked. Magically appeared. Amazing, right? Then, after Officer Waza found that 3D printed gun that Luigi Mangione allegedly had in his backpack, Officer Waza moved that backpack into another room and did a so-called inventory search of that backpack, and like we already know, it was confirmed by another officer that was partially there. Officer Waza did not do a inventory search of that backpack. She just went through Luigi Mangione's backpack and went through the entire thing. She did not write anything down. It was confirmed by another officer. It was not a inventory search what she did. She just went through his backpack. And then on top of that, Luigi Mangione's backpack was moved 2 more times from that room Officer Waza was doing that so-called inventory search. Let's face it, she was just going through his backpack because she wanted to. Then it was moved into a office for another police officer. Then on top of that, it was moved into like a conference room or something like that. I don't remember what it was called. But again, his backpack was moved multiple times at that police station. Actually, in that time frame, Luigi Mangione's backpack was searched multiple times by different officers, and the only time they actually got a search warrant was literally at the end of the day. Was literally the only reason why they considered getting a search warrant, is literally so they could keep some things like the alleged writing Luigi Mangione had, and that's literally the only reason why they considered getting a search warrant. Who even knows if they didn't really think about, oh yeah, we kind of don't want to keep this. I don't think they would have ever gotten a search warrant if they just didn't want to keep those alleged writing they found on Luigi Mangione. Something to think about there. Now, the reason why I yapped on with all that information is because those are key things to keep in mind with this document of all the sketchy things surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack. I've repeated so many times in these videos because I want people not to forget about it. Okay, back to the document breakdown. Just needed to give you guys that little update of everything surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack. I want to keep bringing it up because I don't want people to forget about it. Back to the breakdown. So on page 3, I do find this actually quite interesting. So on December 16th, 2024, in Manhattan, New York, when Luigi Mangione's backpack was sent from Pennsylvania to New York, that's when they requested a search warrant so they could go through Luigi Mangione's backpack in New York. I do find that quite interesting, and I want to add that here. But like we already know, his backpack was searched multiple times at that police station in Pennsylvania, I was going to say Pennsylvania, New York. That's not a thing. In Pennsylvania, in that police station in Altoona, that backpack was already searched multiple times before it even got to New York. And this was also brought up on page 3 as well, on the 31st of December 2025, my birthday included. They requested, do they want to do a evidentiary hearing in Luigi Mangione's case? They did, and that suppression hearing happened on the 23rd of January 2026. I have a audio version of that transcript because again that was released to the public. We could go read it. I can share it with you guys. That's already on the channel. Go check it out if you feel like it. I already have an audio version of that document. It's also brought up in the document as well. Karen Agnifilo has expressed in written form and also in person verbally on January 9th, 2026 in Luigi Mangione's case what the Pennsylvania police officers did going through Luigi Mangione's backpack and claiming it as a inventory search does not fall underneath that category of a inventory search. It goes way too far from Luigi Mangione for it to fall underneath that category as a inventory search in New York law and also in Pennsylvania law. It does not fall underneath that category for that to fall underneath a inventory search of what the police officers did at that McDonald's, including the police station and all that. We'll go over that in a minute. So that was brought up in the document as well. Like, Karen Agnifilo has expressed this multiple times. We've seen it multiple times, and it's very true. And including, great thing about these documents, they do bring up these actual laws in New York or even in Pennsylvania where they go over and explain these are the laws and we can go look for it for ourselves and see, yeah, it does not fall underneath that category. We can make up our own mind and decision and go, yeah, it doesn't. I can see it. You guys can see it. You can see it in the actual laws. Basically, Karen Agnifilo says, when it was brought up in the document, things need to be suppressed in Luigi Mangione's backpack because of those reasons, because it doesn't fall underneath as a inventory law in Pennsylvania or even New York law, and we've already seen it. Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, it is the next day. I just had to run off and do something, and then it took way longer than expected, and then it got way too dark to continue filming yesterday, because it gets dark at 5 p.m. now, because it's cold in winter where I live in the world. Anyway, so it is the next day, so my apologies about that. I know I don't have to apologize to you about that. Life happens, but I feel like I need to say it every time it happens. Anyway, just out of courtesy. Anyway, back to the little breakdown. So this was brought up in the document on January 23rd, 2026. They had a suppression hearing with Judge Garnett, and they called up the witness Nathan Snyder from the Altoona, Pennsylvania police force. Now, important thing to add here is the defense, Luigi Mangione's legal team, did not call up this person as a witness. It was the prosecutors who called up this person as a witness. Going through the document, they did bring that up, saying defense did not bring up any witnesses, and they put this person into evidence because again they have to do that, so the defense did not bring up this person as a witness. Find that very interesting. And another very important thing about this person is he was not involved in Luigi Mangione's case whatsoever. He is not related to it whatsoever. He wasn't part of the investigation. He wasn't part of doing any of the paperwork or anything like that. He is not attached to Luigi Mangione's case whatsoever. He was just brought on as a person who knows the rules and training other officers in Pennsylvania police force of training them what to do. It's very kind of odd why he was called as a witness when he was literally not part of Luigi Mangione's case whatsoever. Something to think about there, but I do want to add that there. Basically, what Officer Snyder did, Pennsylvania law, what such an incident arrest was in Pennsylvania. That's basically what he did. I do have this in my notes of why is he there as called as a witness when he wasn't even part of Luigi Mangione's case whatsoever? That's what I found most interesting. He's in this document and he was called as a witness in Luigi Mangione's case, but he's not part of the people who arrested Luigi Mangione in any part of it. He's just there. It's really weird. Why they just called him as a witness. I literally have in my notes, I called myself out. If I read the transcript instead of skimming it when I first uploaded it, I would have known this already. Officer Snyder just going over what he does as a officer and all that, just basically teaching other officers the rules and stuff like that of doing inventory searches and stuff. It's not that interesting, so that's basically what page 4 is. So it's also brought up in the document in Pennsylvania law, officers are taught basically it's okay for them if they are doing doing a inventory search or even going through someone's backpack or item or car, etc., if they are doing it for safety reasons, making sure there's no weapons, it's okay for them to go through containers and all that. And the thing I do want to add here is, so basically what Officer Fox did, spending way too much time opening a small piece of cardboard with a knife classified as a container, did Officer Waza going through Luigi Mangione's wallet classify as a container and flipping through that? Is that small envelope that came out when Officer Waza was doing a inventory search classified as a container? I don't think so. They're way too small to be classified as containers. Something to think about there? Like, containers classify as like something you would like put your lunch and stuff in, like, you know, that kind of stuff, like small containers. So this I found incredibly interesting. So basically they did actually bring up the law of a inventory search in Pennsylvania. They'll say in that law, once they get to the police station, they have to do a inventory search right away. But like we already know, Officer Waza did not do a inventory search right away. It was actually a totally different officer who actually did a inventory search of Luigi Mangione's backpack. Many hours later, like we already know, Officer Waza literally claimed she was doing a inventory search, but she did not do that. It was also confirmed by another officer higher up. Officer Waza was not doing a inventory search whatsoever, but Judge Garnett still claims basically what Officer Waza did was a inventory search, when it wasn't. Like, you're meant to go and write things down right away when you do inventory searches. Did not do that whatsoever. The thing I've noticed in this document when I was reading it, Judge Garnett is kind of like bunching up all the like officers' behavior as like one person who's done it. Like the inventory search that happened way before they got that search warrant, I want to add, by a totally different officer in a different room compared to what Officer Waza did, and his backpack was moved multiple times like we know. I find that kind of odd. She's like kind of grouping all of them together as one thing instead of separate people who did this. It's really weird. I noticed that when I was reading this document, claiming Officer Waza did do a inventory search, but like we already know, she didn't write anything down. The only thing she wrote down was like a number on a receipt when she was doing that so-called inventory search that she did not do, I want to add. And literally, if you go read any of the motions of basically what actually happened in Luigi Mangione's case surrounding his backpack, and also looking in and knowing Pennsylvania law, that what we have here, and even including in New York law, like what they did was extremely sketchy, and it still falls underneath that category in Pennsylvania law and New York law. What they did was illegal. And the most infuriating thing about this is, I feel like we'll get to it in a minute, but literally Judge Garnett says the reason why they're keeping it in is because there are exceptions to that rule. What the fuck? The thing I find interesting, they also bring up in this document when they had the witness, Officer Snyder, basically saying, who was not a part of Luigi Mangione's arrest or anything like that, he's just there. Really weird, but basically he even admits once they find a criminating piece of evidence, they have to get a search warrant right away. Yes, he said in some circumstances there is exceptions to that rules, like maybe like half an hour or an hour later they would get one, but like we already know, they got that search warrant many hours after Luigi Mangione was officially arrested. Like we already know, it was like in the PM. I don't remember what time it was. I read it once in the live tweets, but it was in the PM. It was around nighttime or the late afternoon once they got that official search warrant to keep things in Luigi Mangione's backpack that they allegedly found. But like we already know, they're meant to do it right away, but they did not do that whatsoever, and they only got that search warrant so they can keep the things that they allegedly found in Luigi Mangione's backpack. And honestly, I keep thinking about that. If they never wanted to consider, like, keeping things in, I don't think they would have ever gotten a search warrant, and they would have kept doing what they were doing, allegedly. Officer Snyder also brought up as well when he was being a witness, he also said even right after they do a inventory search, they have to get a search warrant, even if in certain circumstances they can't get it done right away. Like say, but they have to get it as fast as possible after they do that inventory search. But like we already know, that search warrant was received many hours later. They also go over the prosecution's reasons of like why it was okay for them to do it. Again, very rose-tinted reasons of when Luigi Mangione's backpack was taken away from him, and the reasons why they were going through his backpack because they didn't want to blow up Officer Waz's car. But like we already know, they were joking about that. You know, the bomb magically disappeared after they found that alleged gun magazine in Luigi Mangione's backpack. I know, amazing, right? So basically in this part of the document, Judge Garnett does come out and say there are exceptions to basically what the Altoona police officers did, just because they were doing it for safety reasons, so Officer Waza can, you know, make sure there's no weapons or anything like that in Luigi Mangione's backpack, so she could safely put it in her car. And that's why there are exceptions to what the Altoona police force have done. It's very fucking infuriating, where it's just like, clearly what they did was illegal, they did it multiple times, but then it's like classified, there are exceptions, and it's like, what the fuck? It's very infuriating. I literally have in my notes, it's like the only expression I have is like this emoji after reading that, like, there's exceptions. It's like, what the fuck? You can clearly see in the body camera footage that you guys have access to, we don't, the public, entire body camera footage from Officer Waza's side, where you can clearly tell Officer Waza and Officer Fox were joking around and not taking it seriously, but then that bomb magically disappeared after they found that gun magazine in Luigi Mangione's backpack, but you're still classifying that as them going through Luigi Mangione's backpack was okay because they were making sure it was safe and make sure there was, you know, nothing there so they won't be harmed or anything like that. It's also brought up in the document, the reason why they were doing, Officer Waza was doing that was literally because they were looking for a bomb, and that's why it's classified as like, I'm getting infuriated. Oh, basically, it was okay for them to do that because they was checking if there were any weapons or anything like that for safety reasons, and that's the exception. It's fucking infuriating. It's basically just ignoring what actually happened, classifying it as an exception. It's so fucking dumb. I do apologize, and sometimes in these breakdowns I'm only meant to be like strictly breakdown mode, but then sometimes I throw my own little opinion and then argue about what was actually written. I do apologize about that. You guys don't complain about that, but like I do feel like I'm not meant to. Like, you know, it's like, just breakdown, no opinion. So basically on page 7 to page 8 is not that interesting, it's just them going over the laws in Pennsylvania of basically safety searches and also inventory searches. Again, I also read that, and literally what they did still does not fall underneath the category of what they did was okay. Again, it's infuriating when it's like, you can clearly read what's in front of you of like the clear rule, and then seeing what actually happened and seeing it does fall underneath that category of what they did was wrong, but then Judge Garnett just says there's exceptions. It fucking makes me so pissed. Basically, after they explain the rules in Pennsylvania of like search incident to arrest and also like search for safety, etc., what they did does fall underneath that category. It was illegal. It's literally in front of you, Judge Garnett. Anyway, we're moving on before I start yelling. Basically, they do go over briefly of what Luigi Mangione allegedly did and when he was basically arrested briefly. Again, they go over this quite briefly and they get to the point. I just want to add that here. They basically do that after page 7 and 8. So basically on page 9 it is brought up basically what Officer Waza did was okay, because literally it is brought up in body camera footage. They were literally looking for a bomb, but like we already know, context matters with that kind of stuff, and like we already know, they were joking around. They weren't taking the situation seriously, and Judge Garnett basically says in her document it was okay, it is a exception because they were searching through Luigi Mangione's backpack at that McDonald's illegally because literally they were making sure there was no weapons or anything like that for safety reasons, and that is the exception for what they did was okay. It's very infuriating. that honestly annoyed me the most about this was literally like, they were joking around about the bomb excuse. It comes out, they were joking around and not taking the bomb excuse seriously. They made it up because they realized, oh shit, we need a search warrant. What we're doing is wrong. Quick, make an excuse. Again, they just made a bomb excuse. It came out in body camera footage. Like we already know, they weren't taking that shit seriously. But then Judge Garnett sees that and takes it seriously and says, yeah, they were like looking for a bomb. It's dangerous. Yeah, context matters. Yeah, they were joking around and not taking it seriously. Their classifying of what they did was okay because they were joking about a bomb. What the fuck? That's the thing that like infuriated me the most about this, honestly. It's also come out in this document. There are also exceptions to the inventory search Officer Waza was doing as well. But again, like we already know, Officer Waza did not do a inventory search once she got to that police station. Like we already know, she was just looking for evidence. She was looking for a very specific spot where the 3D printed gun allegedly was. Again, like we already know, Officer Fox was looking for the pockets. Officer Waza was looking for the main part of the bag. They met up on the side of the road, and that interaction was not recorded. You can say things in a couple of seconds, you know. Anything could have been said and done then. Again, like we already know. And I refuse to let that go, because it's incredibly important to remember. And the most infuriating thing about it is, Judge Garnett is just saying in her order/opinion is just saying there are exceptions and that's why it's okay. Like literally everything we've learned surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack, it clearly shows what the Pennsylvania officers did was illegal when they took Luigi Mangione's backpack away from him. Again, and that's literally from everything we've learned from Karen Agnifilo's motions, from the prosecution side of things when they talked about it in rose-tinted glasses, from the actual December suppression hearings that happened last year in Judge Caro's case surrounding Luigi Mangione. Again, literally everything we've learned about Luigi Mangione's backpack, everything what the Pennsylvania officers did was literally illegal and incredibly sketchy, and just putting the blanket term of, oh, there are exceptions, what they did was okay, like, no, it is not. And that is the most infuriating thing about this entire document, just throwing the blanket term, there are exceptions. Again, the reason why I keep bringing up the December suppression hearings in this video, because again, they are very similar. The two cases literally happening against Luigi Mangione. Like we already know, double jeopardy is 100% going on. He's literally being charged with the same case twice. It's fucking insane. It's exactly the same thing, guys. So basically, literally things relating to Judge Caro's case can relate to Judge Garnett's case. Because again, it's the same crime twice, but one's more extreme compared to the other, if that makes sense. So that's why I keep bringing up these key details that I've read in other motions from Karen Agnifilo from the December suppression hearing, because they are relating to things that are in this document, if that makes sense. Because again, there are key details in those motions and also from the December suppression hearing that I need to bring up here. And also, like, I know you guys don't have that much time or have, like, you know, lives, or just forget about it after reading it, because it is a lot of information. I just have this stuff stored in my brain like a little weirdo. Instead of practical things about life, I just have things stored in my brain in Luigi Mangione's case. That's what my brain is full of, in practical crap. But I think it's incredibly important to bring those key elements from those documents into this, so we can get a clearer picture of what is going on and why it doesn't really make sense of why Judge Garnett is basically putting a blanket term over things instead of reading this document blindly, if that makes sense. So basically on page 10, again I brought this up earlier, but this I found interesting. Basically, like we already know, Judge Garnett is kind of claiming everyone as one person in this. So basically, it does come out on page 10. Officer Waza did do a much thorough search of Luigi Mangione's backpack at that police station and did a much thorough search than she was letting on, like we already know. And it also comes out there was a inventory search done, but it never said who did the inventory search. And I find that incredibly interesting. They were being very vague about the inventory search. Like, they're grouping people together who did the inventory search. It does not come out in the document saying Officer Waza did the inventory search. Like we already know, she did not. But like we already know, it did happen at some point. But that was like many hours later in a different room by a different officer entirely. Like we already know. That came out in the December suppression hearings that happened last year in Luigi Mangione's case. It was done by a different officer, not by Officer Waza. So I found it very interesting. Judge Garnett is kind of grouping a bunch of officers together as like one person who's done this. Very interesting. I just want to add that there. This I found interesting. So this was brought up on page 14. Basically, it was brought up in the document if someone's backpack or items, truck, etc. was actually searched illegally, like Luigi Mangione's backpack. Basically, if they got a search warrant and they were going to find the stuff later, basically what they did was okay even if they did it illegally. And the thing I find interesting is how can they like predict they were going to find the stuff later before they even got the search warrant? Like, do they have a crystal ball? We knew Luigi Mangione's backpack was like searched multiple times before they got that search warrant. Also, Waza loves turning her body camera off. There's time zones missing surrounding Luigi Mangione's backpack. How can they predict what they illegally did? They were going to find that stuff later on, even if they got that search warrant. Again, the prosecution brought that up in their document, basically saying, we were going to find it anyway, so it was totally fine what they did. It doesn't matter if they search his backpack illegally. Rights don't matter unless we want them to matter. That's basically how the prosecution sound like in this entire case. I actually came across something like that the other day, actually, where it's like, why are Luigi Mangione's rights just non-existent in this entire case? Like, I've lost count how many times they have violated Luigi Mangione's rights. Like, rights are there for a reason, to protect people's basically existence. But then, if rights are just bluntly ignored, what are rights for then if they can just be pick and chosen who gets them or not? Isn't really fair, is it? Like, basically, how are they going to predict they were going to find the stuff later anyway before they even got that search warrant? Like, I'm pretty sure they don't have a crystal ball. I'm sorry if I offended you if you believe in that kind of stuff. That's like the best way I could describe it in like more simple everyday terms, with like what happened on page 14. Again, they go very legally spoken type of things on page 14, so I had to read it a couple of times to wrap my head around it to like explain it for you guys. Like, I understood it when I read it, but like I had to like figure out a way to like explain it, so hopefully I explained it okay. I found incredibly interesting, and I do want to bring up basically things would have been thrown out in Luigi Mangione's backpack of what they allegedly found if they could not prove basically they weren't gonna find the things legally because it was found illegally. And I find that very interesting. Is like, how can they prove that? Like, no one has a crystal ball saying, yes, we'll definitely find this before the search warrant, or even we'll definitely find this even we got the search warrant. Again, that thing I found incredibly interesting. So things would have been thrown out if they would have proved from Luigi Mangione's backpack, if they proved that stuff they allegedly found against Luigi Mangione was literally found before they got that search warrant, but they were gonna find that stuff later. But it was already found before the search warrant. How can they prove they were gonna find it after the search warrant if it was already found? Something to think about there. Do you guys remember when Officer Waza and Officer Fox met on the side of the road and Officer Fox handed her a brown paper bag and literally that entire interaction wasn't recorded? I mentioned that 6 times already, but I want to keep bringing that up. I just want to bring that up there after mentioning that of things would have been thrown out in Luigi Mangione's backpack if that stuff was going to be proved. It was going to be found after they got that search warrant when it was already found before the search warrant. How were they going to prove that stuff wasn't going to be found after the search warrant when they've already found it? How do you unfind stuff? Page 15, they go over briefly of when they moved Luigi Mangione's backpack, and Judge Garnett says it was just standard safety procedure. They moved it 9 feet away from him, and he had like about 3 officers between him and his backpack. You know, he has no control over his backpack whatsoever in that situation. And basically Judge Garnett said it was totally okay for what the officers did at that McDonald's when Luigi Mangione was arrested, because it falls underneath that category of a safety search. Sorry, I'm making your blood boil. Stick with me, it's what the document says. It also, Judge Garnett brings up as well on page 15, saying what the officers did at that police station is also okay because there are exceptions, so because they did a inventory search. Again, doesn't say who. Like we already know, his back was searched multiple times without a search warrant before they even got that search warrant, and that inventory search only happened once, and that was near the end of the day before they got that search warrant. But it's infuriating. Judge Garnett just puts that blanket term, oh, there are exceptions, what they did was okay, when you can clearly see it wasn't right in front of you if you read this document on your own. Basically, Judge Garnett brings up in their conclusion of their document they have written here, basically everything that was allegedly found in Luigi Mangione's backpack will not be suppressed because literally it falls underneath the category of there are exceptions of the rules of what the Pennsylvania officers did. So basically it falls underneath that category of there are exceptions, and that's why things won't be suppressed in Luigi Mangione's backpack in Judge Garnett's case. And Karen Agnifilo's motion is denying for having everything suppressed in Luigi Mangione's backpack. Again, very annoying and very infuriating when there's bluntly obvious information shoved in your face. If you actually looked, you can clearly see, even if you're stupid, you can clearly see what has happened was illegal and not okay for them to do. Again, fucking infuriating. I know I got really heated in this and I'm just mad, but but it's bluntly obvious though, you can clearly see. Makes me very angry. Okay, so that was the end of my little breakdown of Judge Garnett's order/opinion that came out on the 30th of January 2026, and the next part of the document is example A, and that is basically the search warrant they got for Luigi Mangione's backpack, and I do have it in my notes. I did do a breakdown of it, but then I kind of was thinking about it when I was recording this video. I don't think it's really necessary for me to break that little bit of the document down for you guys, because again, I don't think it's really necessary or current information to have here. You can, if you want to go read it, it is there. It is in the audio version of the document, but when I was reading it, it was very fan fiction I do want to say that where there were things put in that search warrant where basically they were the first time we've ever heard that stuff ever. Literally, when I was reading the search warrant for this document, basically it did come off very much like fan fiction. I know that sounds really odd me saying that, but literally there were things brought up there in the actual search warrant that we've never heard in this entire case. Things were literally plucked from thin air that were put in the search warrant than what has actually happened. Literally the first time we've heard about basically what the Luigi Mangione allegedly did, taking a bus, and then literally that's the first time we've heard about that, except one time from a motion. But literally, we already know, they got that search warrant many hours later after they searched Luigi Mangione himself, and we've heard before in the past, things were found on Luigi Mangione, like a bus ticket and a couple of other items, and even his backpack was searched multiple times without a search warrant. But again, he's already been searched before the search warrant has already happened, so reading the search warrant, it does very much come off. They are just putting the pieces together, but it doesn't really make sense. They even go over some CCTV camera footage, but they go it over very briefly and don't really get to the point of what happened, if that makes sense. So I'm not really going to break down the search warrant for you guys because I don't think it's really necessary here, but if you want to go listen to it, it is part of audio version of this document I already made. I've mentioned that 50 million times, I do apologize, but I just want to add that here. When I was reading it, I go, Why is this very fan fiction like? And I was gonna make a little short about this, but whatever, I'm not gonna. Everything I've read lately from the prosecution side of things, or even the Altoona, Pennsylvania side of things, or even some documents from basically Judge Caro, where it does come off a little bit fan fiction like it's just made up in like fiction and stuff like that. It's really weird. And I'm just saying that from a person who used to write fiction as a teenager. Things are written very differently compared to, say, factual things that have actually happened, instead of it coming off as like, why does this kind of sound like fiction? I don't know, I just want to add that there, and it's been running through my head a lot lately. It's like, why are these coming off more like fiction than like what actually has happened? I just want to add that there, like, I just find that very odd. Anyway, if you guys aren't happy I didn't do the breakdown of the search warrant, I do apologize. If you want me, let me know when I'll like bring out my notes again and hear my sarcasm of like, what the fuck is this fanfiction? That is like the rest of this document from Judge Garnett. If you want to go check it out, it is there, but I'm not gonna do that in this video. Yeah, I do want to say this here. Thank you for watching this week's video. This is gonna be the last breakdown from me for a while in Luigi Mangione's case, in these really big documents. My next probably breakdown in Luigi Mangione's case, I guess, will be like the next updated video in Luigi Mangione's case. That'll happen in the next couple of weeks, because again, I'm human. I am the only one here working on all these videos, and I do have dyslexia, and it does take me a long time to get through these documents, but I think it's important for me to get through these things, and I am human. It takes me a lot of time, but all the factual and correct information is all in one place for you guys. So yeah, and I do want to say this here. Again, like I said at the start of the video, this isn't like new information in Luigi Mangione's case. This document did come out on the 30th of January 2026 in Luigi Mangione's case with Judge Garnett. I said that at the start of the video, I'm still gonna put it at the end of the video here. And I hope you guys liked my little breakdown video. Thank God I finished all my little breakdown videos that I needed to go over at the start of the year. I did wish I did have time to go over this at the start of the year when this did happen, but like you guys already know, and I brought up multiple times in the past, I did have to do a lot of things at the start of the year this year, so I didn't really have time to go over and break this down for you guys, even if I wish I could have done it at the time. But I finished it. I finally got through the giant documents and breakdown all these really big documents that happened in Luigi Mangione's case. Hopefully you liked this little breakdown I did. Hopefully it wasn't too sarcastic. I hope it made sense. I hope you guys liked it. I still have no idea if my breakdowns are okay and make sense. No one leaves comments saying they're bad or good. I have no idea. I'm just going through this in the dark. And sometimes I think about these, and it's like, if I ever talked to like a human being the extent I do in my little videos here, I feel like I would be like Diane from BoJack Horseman saying, "Oh my god, you're looking at me like I'm crazy." I feel like if I ever spoke like this to a real human being who is like, you know, invested in Luigi Mangione's case as much as like the people that are a part of this channel, or like you guys, or just find this stuff interesting, I feel like if I talked to a real human being, I would like sound like a fucking crazy person, if I talked like I do here in my videos. But like, there's so much important information you guys need to know, and I can't narrow it down in like the span of 10 minutes. So many things I gloss over if I do it that way. Anyway, so hope you guys like this little breakdown of Judge Garnett's opinion/order that came out on the 30th of January 2026. Like I said earlier, my next video will be updates in Luigi Mangione's case. Hopefully it won't be 4 hours, but we'll see. No promises. I am going to take next week off because I am burnt out from existing. Not doing this. I love doing this. Like I said, I took a month off at the end of last year, and I realized I fucking hate not doing these. I love this. I love doing these videos. I enjoy them so much. So I'm just burnt out from existing, and it happened. So I'm going to take next week off. I am tired from existing. Good thing I only post 3 times a month instead of every week. I don't know how I did that. I don't think very healthily. I was burning out doing that. These are literally tiny documentaries I do 3 times a month. You guys are pretty chill about it too, so that's good. So yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go. So, thank you for watching this week's video. You can subscribe if you want to, it's okay. If not, the dog says you should definitely subscribe. I upload 3 times a month, and if you guys want to keep up to date with the channel, you can follow the channel's social medias. That'll be in the description down below. And if you guys want to fund me personally, all of my social medias will be down below. Yeah, bye. Also, do you like my little Luigi patch I made last year? Very cute.